Okay. So we'll see. Okay, bula Vinaka. Let me see how. Okay, so we are live. Okay. Right. Vinaka vakalevu na sema mai ni bula. Vinaka vakalevu na nomuni sele na nomuni ngona. Menda mai sota na kai Vinaka ni kua. Ye me tek butaka na nonda me Talanoa. And na rongoda manda na sere. Me kene vakarau, eh? Okay. Wawa. So I will just have the song ready.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, so here we are. Naka vinakavali na sema mind na ronga da madra sere na vanua the morning. Okay, Dimbula. I hope, Luke, that you enjoyed that song. It's a beautiful song called Vanondomoni. And Vanondomoni is translated as like My Beloved Land. And it's kind of a very popular song that, as I was saying to you earlier, it's a song that is often sung all around the world by our Fijian diaspora, and particularly our rugby players as well, and their fans. When we win, or if we don't win, it's still a song that that we sing. So Vinaka vakalevu, Luke, for taking the time out from your busy schedule, because I know you've got a lot on in Aotearoa right now, but we are so glad that you can be able to be here with us tonight. So to kickstart our Talanoa today, just perhaps take this time just to say a few aloha or bula vinaka or kia ora to our listeners who are listening in tonight, Luke.
Sure. Kia ora, everyone. Appreciate the time to come on this show today. So my name's Luke Bradley. I hail from a small place in the North Island called Gisborne, population of about 40,000. First see the sun, surfing Mecca, Chardonnay capital. So it's a beautiful place. So a little bit about me before we get started, I suppose. So I did all my schooling and school life through Gisborne before going on to Waikato University to do a law degree, sports degree, before heading off to Japan for 10 years, where this whole scholarship situation has kicked off. I was fortunate enough to be in a close circle of good rugby friends and pick up the Japanese language pretty quickly, and I was able to sort of help as voluntary to start off with, to help people get into good situations in Japan where they can really excel and show their talents. So I suppose that's why I'm here today, and very grateful that Dr. T has been able to share the post and create a lot of attention. So thank you very much.
So Vinaka vakalevu, Luke, and when you mentioned about your 10 years ago, you've been involved in these sports before you went over to Japan. Was sports like really an area you have always wanted to be part of when you were a young boy?
Yeah, I guess so. When growing up here in Gisborne, everyone's out with no shoes playing rugby in the bloody cold and rugby league, and I was also played a lot of basketball and volleyball, so I was very fortunate to have good parents that pushed me out instead of watching TV to get outside and do sports. And obviously through high school, sports and PE was my favorite subject, which led me into a sports degree. So sports has been a big part of my life, and I guess for a lot of young people growing up in Gisborne, we love to be active, we love to be outside, and we love to mingle with our friends through sports. So yeah, it's been a big part of my life to date. So.
Wow. Apart from rugby, was there other sports that you were interested in when you were young?
Yeah, definitely. So growing up, a lot of rugby league. Basketball was big for me. I think basketball was very good sport for us young Māori to sort of express our skills and our talents. And also I played a lot of volleyball. Coming from a basketball background, being able to jump pretty high was helpful. And once again, another chance to just hang out with your friends and create some camaraderie. So sports was huge in our lives and still is to this day.
Wow, that's wonderful, Luke. Because I know a lot of our Polynesian brothers, you are very talented, in the field of sports. But I often see that many are really good in sports, but maybe when they grow up, they either do law or they move into other fields. But what made you decide that this is like kind of a calling for you, Luke?
I guess first of all, as an athlete, I really like to push myself and compete against other people. And then when I got a bit older, I found a lot of reward in helping people with sports, whether it be through coaching, whether it be placing players in opportunities where they can support their families and stuff like that. So the rewarding aspect was big for me, being able to help, being able to give back, and like I said, being able to create opportunities for people, not only in New Zealand, but all around the world, in particular Japan. So the give back and the reward has been huge for me in sports, and I think I'll keep doing it for a long time. So.
Wow. In terms of sports in your whānau, are there other of your maybe uncles who have gone before you, or those who are still playing in the field of rugby right now?
Yeah, definitely. Some of the older uncles are still playing, even though they probably shouldn't be. But there's all types of grades for the elder statesmen these days, golden oldies and so on. So a lot of my family involved with rugby, whether it be still playing, whether it be coaching, whether it be managing, or just regular patrons at the rugby club after hours. So.
Wow, that's wonderful. And before we go on to the topic of how you went to Japan and all of that, if we look at Aotearoa, because that's a place that most of us Fijians look up to in terms of a lot of the rugby greats. Are there any particular either Maori rugby player or even those in the sphere of the All Blacks that you often look up to, or kind of like your role model when you were a young boy in Gisborne?
Yeah, good question, actually. I was obviously a big fan of Jonah Lomu. The late Jonah Lomu was an amazing player and obviously a lovely man off the field as well. Fijian-born Jarok Coker was a big favourite of mine. I really enjoyed watching him play. And then another player, great blindside, who was Jerome Kaino, were a couple of my favourite players growing up. So look up to those guys and still, look back at their highlights on YouTube today and get inspired. So those are three of my favourites of all time: Jerome Kaino, John Lomu, and Joe Rokakoko.
Oh, Vinaka vakalevu. And I'm sure Joe will be listening to our Talanoa at some point. Or, he may have some of his own relatives watching as well. Is there a particular, say, for example, you meet him at some point in either in Aotearoa or in Fiji, if you come over for a visit, is there a particular, just one thing that you would like to say to him?
Probably a few things, but just appreciate watching him as I was growing up. He put a lot of flair to the game, and so I'd just like to say thanks for the great memories.
Interesting as well. Look, that you decided to do a degree out of sports, and was it difficult for you to find courses that were available in Aotearoa for you to go and check them out?
Yeah, not too difficult, to be honest. The sports degree at Waikato had always stuck out for me, and a lot of our old boys from my high school, Gisborne Boys High, had done it. So for me, it was pretty straightforward, and we were lucky enough to have some people from the university come to our school and speak openly and take a lot of questions about the course. So no, it wasn't hard at all. However, there was a time when I was looking at Otago University, had a bit more of a sports science specific course there that I was considering. But at the end of the day, I think the closeness of Hamilton to Gisborne won it over for me. So ended up in Hamilton in the sports degree.
Absolutely, because when you're studying, it's close by to home. So maybe on the weekends or during the school semester, you may, it's easy for you to go and visit your family, right? Oh, wonderful. Wow. So yeah, look, in terms of how I was promoting your business and sharing a lot of the information that I found online, and I shared it on my page, there was so much interest. But before we go on to the details, especially for potential players and the family who will be listening in, what motivated you to start your business and choose Japan?
Good question. I think for me, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, was the rewarding part of creating opportunities for players to sort of really excel, not only on the field, but off the field. That was a big part of it. I also happened to obviously live in Japan, picked up the language pretty quickly, not fluently, but picked it up pretty quickly, and was able to sort of start voluntary making opportunities for players to come over, not only men, but also female sevens players. Had a lot to do with them coming through. And just, like I said, the reward factor of being able to create opportunities sort of led me to starting up my small business, which is LRB Sports.
That's wonderful. And what has been the response so far? And, ever since you started your, the consultancy business?
Yeah, good question. It was a lot of good feedback. At the time when it was kicking off, it wasn't overly popular location, Japan. Obviously now there's a bit of a boom there, and everyone wants to go there. But at the time, reactions were somewhat, as some people were like, man, that's different. It's different. Good on you. It's different. Give it a try. Other reactions were, cool, we've got an avenue to go through now. We have a Māori or Polynesian men that's creating opportunities for our people. Someone we can really relate to, we can talk openly to, and yeah, I think that was the defining factors that got me to start the business and to sort of follow through. It's been 6+ years now and still going strong. So those things have been strong factors.
And you shared with me some pictures of some of our young Fijian players that are part of the program that you have done so far. What has been the responses from Fijians in particular?
Good. To be honest, a lot of the Fijian boys I've placed over there, man, they get a massive following from Fiji, from home, and everyone's sort of cheering them on. And sometimes I have to use my Google Translate to see what they're saying, and it's always positive chat. And a couple of times you might get a couple of comments of them telling them to bring some rugby gears back home for them and stuff. And so it's quite it's good to see the support, and it's really refreshing to see just always positive chat that's happening.
Oh, that's wonderful. And apart from the Fijian players that often come under your management, are there other interests from other island nations, for example, with Tonga and Samoa?
Yeah, obviously we're open to any ethnicity, any race, and so there'll be a lot of interest from the other Pacific Islands as well. Tonga, we have a couple of Samoan boys playing there, and obviously a couple of Māori boys from home as well. So we're very open to them, and what I find is, to be honest, is the Polynesian boys do really well there because of the a lot of the culture aspects are quite similar to Japan. One really important one that I see in a lot of our Fijian boys there is they're able to go over there and really they have a system there called senpai kohai. So that just means senpai is your senior or your superior, kohai is the junior, inferior sort of person, and that respect between elders is very important as you go over to Japan. And I find that with our Polynesian boys that go over there and they have that in them already, so it really helps them to make a good impression, make a good start, and sort of pave the way for a good few years over there.
That's wonderful. That's good to know that you also have support from our neighboring countries, and also good to see that there's Fijian boys as well who are part of this the work that you are doing so well over there. What has been any particular challenge maybe you have faced over the 6 years you've been running your business?
Yeah, I guess obviously, as you can imagine, COVID was very tough. Sort of two years of not being able to get any players over there, which was really difficult. A lot of our players that were signed and ready to go had to, if it was a university scholarship, they were doing their studies online for a good almost 2 years there. So it was really tough for them, and I really felt for them. But they showed great resilience to sort of fight through and train hard at home whilst doing their online Japanese studies. So I was very proud of them. And they got over there this year in April, March. Was a real also a bit emotional because they'd worked so hard and had a lot of obstacles in their ways, not being able to get over there and stuff. But they stuck at it and they stuck to their goals, and now they're really flourishing there. So it was a rewarding sort of emotional period that April, March when they were able to go over.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, this we come down now to the main questions, that a lot of our family and friends were asking. So I noticed in your flyer that we shared was you had a couple of very important points that you were looking at. For example, the age of those who wanted to go and play, or the track record of how they were playing back home. Maybe I'll give you the opportunity for you to share what are some of the key points that parents, we can address the parents who are watching, plus also the young players as well who are listening in.
Yeah, so basically with these university scholarships, we ask for a very basic rugby resume or CV, so their achievements, their date of birth, height and weight. And we also ask for some footage, only 3 to 5 minutes of quality footage from the players. Over the months, sometimes it's been quite tough for people to follow those requirements. I get a lot of just pictures or just an email with no attachments. So it's very important to follow those requirements that are on the post, Dave. So that it needs to be good quality footage and in a good clear resume with all your details on it. I think because for me, I want to be in a situation where I can just get it, review it, and then forward it on to the Japanese side where they can look over it as well. And they're very thorough, as you can imagine, in Japan, and they like to see things nice and clear. And so on. And in most cases, if they like the CV, they might come back and they might ask the parent or the player to provide a full game of the player playing, because I like to see what the boy is doing away from the ball. Is he staying busy? Is he staying active? And so on. So normally starting point is a good CV, 3 to 5 minutes of highlights. And then when the coach is interested, he'll come back and say, look, may I have a full game of you playing? So those are the main requirements there. And I think for a lot of our youth, not only in Fiji, but all over the world, we get excited and we just want to send pictures and little paragraphs and so on. And it's sort of, it's a bit tough for me to forward on to the Japanese side, even though for me, I can feel like this is awesome, great player, but I just need those finer details for the Japanese side. So
actually, that's a very good point. That's something I want to highlight for those of you who are listening in. Bikem ni na wekanda di barong chukumai na kasat kun chukumengo look muni bamure benak saranga mai na kait kunya CV na muni resume memang tata. Is there a particular format that you would prefer, or is it any CV as long as it's clear that they have their names and the date of birth and the schooling and everything that they've achieved?
That's right. Yeah, just clarity is important, I think. Not really worried about a certain format.
Right. Okay. As long as it's clear.
Yeah, as long as it's clear.
Right. Okay. So that's a good one. The other one is the footage. Yes. Because I got a lot of inquiries myself when I shared it on my page. They were wanting to know what kind of, what's the footage that is required. Maybe just expand a little bit more on that. Sure.
So footage is basically highlights of you playing rugby. 3 to 5 minutes was what I was asking for on the post, and it can be broken down into sections. Some of the better footages is broken down into like tackles, line breaks, offloads. So breaking down into those categories, or merged into one video. A lot of the times I'm getting a lot of emails with about 8 different 10-second videos, so it's a bit tough. So we wanted to merge them all together and make a nice amount of footage for the coach to have a really good look at you, your size, your strength, your skills, and make a decision from there. So.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. That those are some of the important, because for them to know that footage will come to you first, you will look at it, and then you'll pass it on to the other side, right?
Yeah, that's
in
correct.
Japan. Okay. So in terms of you mentioned the university scholarship. So would this be kind of a little bit of both of sports and academic?
That's right.
Maybe achievement that they've already got?
So what happens with the boys, they go to, depending on the university, there'll be a couple of degrees available to the rugby boys. Hopefully the boys have the academic background to be able to go straight into the degree. If they haven't, they'll spend a semester picking up those credits and able to go on to that degree of studies. So some universities specialize in sports science, and there might be business, management, commerce, and so on. Depending on the university, the boys will be given the options to study, and they come away with a degree, which is really helpful. So it's concentrating on both aspects. There's a lot of work involved. Obviously, they're studying during the day, a lot to take in. Then on the fields training in the afternoon. So it's not an easy ride, Japan, but it's really can be I always say rewarding, but it is rewarding if you put in the hard yards. Yeah, that'll be a fruitful experience for you. That's for sure.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for for encouraging those who are listening in, that those who want to go over has the opportunity to also study. And this is something that needs that whoever is applying needs to take on seriously. Because I actually find it very exciting. That's why, look, I shared it on my page because I can see the benefit on both sides. One is showcasing and expanding on your skills as a rugby player, but also at the same time, going to school and achieving something academically. So it is a win-win, look.
It is. It is. Not to mention they come away speaking Japanese as well. So.
Wow. That is amazing. Now, for those who are planning to go, how long? What's kind of the duration? Because I know universities normally, with a degree program, may go for 3 to 4 years. What are the duration like in Japan?
Yeah, much the same as your experiences. So 3 to 4 years, mostly 4 years, is the requirement to stay at university and see out your degree program. So 4 years.
Wow. Okay. And you also mentioned about language. And I know learning the Japanese language, do you think, such a beautiful language, even to, hear people speaking it, is this a particular requirement for those who successfully go through the program you're offering?
Yeah, it is actually. Obviously, they're not expecting you to go there, speaking fluently, but it'll be nice to have a couple of greetings up your sleeve, konnichiwa and yoroshiku onegaishimasu or something like that before you go over. As a lot of your programs will be totally in Japanese, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. However, there's a lot of people there that are on your side and that are willing to help you when you need a bit of help. So.
Okay, so would you recommend that those who may be interested, to put in an application while they're waiting to hear from you or waiting to hear from the university, even just to get some little bit of language classes, even basic ones, as you said?
Yes, I think so. I think it's a really important thing. They're very grateful over there if you try your best to speak Japanese, maybe just saying thank you in Japanese. Like many other countries and cultures, when you hear someone speaking the language of the home people, it makes you feel very warm and grateful that they're trying their best. So it is very helpful when trying to adapt and make new friends and make a good impression over there. So I highly recommend it.
Wow, there you go. So for those of you who are listening in and those who will watch this replay, Luke has mentioned that there has been some emails that he has received, but most of the ones he receives are either just images, which is good to a certain extent, but the footage is what you aim for, Luke?
That's right, yeah. Footage would be great.
Right. So for those who are watching, I know many have played high school rugby tournaments. There are some who are messaging me, they were still kind of in the age group of 18 and 19. And some who even played for the Dean's Trophy, or one of the, the high level high school rugby tournament. Would those be the ones that you would be looking for as well?
Yeah, it really helps, to be honest, if they've played in a good high school, and they've also, we're getting resumes and footage from boys who are even that good to be selected in the Fiji under-20s. So that really helps, obviously, to have a good school background, a strong rugby school, and having that selection, even if it's extended Fiji squad under-20s or Fiji schoolboys. It's obviously going to really catch the eyes of coaches over there. So it's very helpful.
Wow, there you go to our listeners. I'm sure there are parents who are watching and listening as well. If your son has played in any of those rugby matches or tournaments, and they also included in the Fiji under-20 or those kind of categories, this might be your chance. And that's what made me, really gravitate towards your flyer look in the beginning. just to see that this is a wonderful opportunity, and I can see young Fijian boys, expanding their horizon and a lot of this, there's so much talent in Fiji. What are your thoughts about Fiji itself, Luke? I'm very curious.
They're unreal athletes. I was really lucky enough before COVID to come to the Coral Coast Sevens. We brought a New Zealand women's team over, and man, I was just watching the men's games, and they're so naturally talented, physical, and all the attributes of good rugby players. So I think they'll really shine over there. I like the togetherness, the identity, the culture that they have. They're very tight as teams over there, and play a really exciting brand of rugby, which I love to watch. So it's good.
Wow, that's really awesome. Now, I know when I was posting your flyer up, in my mind, I was kind of like, I was just thinking more of the male players, but I'm thinking our girls have been doing so well. Fijian has been thrashing a lot of these teams. What are your points you want to share with our women rugby players and the potential for them, Luke?
Yeah, well, I've placed a good amount of women players in sevens contracts in Japan, at least 30 plus, I'd say. And just through the scholarship posts, I've got a few males and CVs from female players from Fiji, which I'm not turning away. I'm just saying, look, there's no opportunity at the moment. However, come next year, there are opportunities that are going to become available. So let me take your resume and footage, and I'll get back to you when those opportunities arise. But like you said, some really good football's being played by the females over there at the moment, and they're really exciting to watch also. So
yeah, that's exciting, to see, and that's something I'm very proud of as a Fijian woman.
yes.
Myself, Look, I watch from afar. I'm not a athletic person or someone who plays rugby, but I love watching. That's a good start. But it makes me smile, to see the challenges, that many of our players go through, not only just the women, but also our young men. Sometimes I've seen footage, of young boys. Sometimes they don't even have a ball. They just use a bottle or throw a coconut, from left to right, and off they went, having fun. What are some of your maybe advice to our young ones who are watching, who really want to expand their horizon?
Just keep at it, work hard, listen to your coaches. One thing that's really big about going to Japan is you got to be coachable. You can't be a know-it-all and think you know everything. You have to be coachable and really adaptable. So listening to your coaches is important, very important, I feel. Doing your extras, not just leaving it all to the one team training. You've got to put your own work in as well. And just doing your best to be a good person off the field as well. So I think those factors are important. And also taken into consideration if you want to expand, especially to Japan. Those things are very crucial.
That is so true. What you said, that on the field and off the field, the off the field part is just as important as being as playing. What has been sort of like your best advice you've given to the ones that are currently there? Just to encourage them to keep going, because I know, I went overseas, Luke, and I was very homesick. Do you reckon that sometimes they feel homesick?
This most recent batch of players I've sent over, man, they're getting amongst it. I don't think they have time to be homesick, to be honest.
That's good to know.
Yeah, but there will come a time, it can't always be exciting and all that. So I'm sure there will come a time when they get a bit homesick. But you just have to remind them what they're there for, and that they've got goals that we set out together to achieve, and to just see it out and keep working hard. But I always tell them just to stick at it. Some of them like, man, they train too hard, and I say, well, you know what you signed up for. I told you about this. So it's quite interesting to see how they react to certain situations there. But for the most part, they love it, and they're actually becoming really good ambassadors of the places they've come from, whether it be New Zealand, Fiji, Samoa, They're doing a really good job for us. So I'm proud of them.
Wow, that is wonderful. Because when they are with you in this program in Japan, they you know, we are ambassadors of our countries, right? You know, we don't have to be in the political field, but if you are in the sports field, you are representing your country. That is really wonderful. Now, I asked you a question for those who are playing for the high school tournaments, like the Dean's Trophy or some of those. I've been away from Fiji for a while. I'm not sure whether they're still playing that, but I'm sure you get what I'm talking about. Those high school ones that leads into under 20. What about the grassroots rugby? Because the grassroots rugby in Fiji, you know, is amazing. I've been watching a lot of the Vanua tournaments, you know, the districts, the provinces of Matuata, Mbua, recently Asawa, you know, the regional within Fiji. What would be your advice to some of the young ruggers from those communities?
Yeah, I'd say, is that in terms of them wanting to go to Japan and so on, or just in terms of
to kind of look, you know, the opportunity for them to maybe put a goal, maybe 1 or 2 years or 3 years in front of them, an opportunity to go and play in Japan.
Yeah, well, I think the first step is, you know, their grassroots stuff's awesome. I remember when I went there, I loved just driving and everyone was playing rugby on the dirt fields. It was such an awesome atmosphere and vibe. But I think the important thing is start setting goals quite early. It might be to play for this team next. It might be to play for another team coming up. And just make sure you're out there and being able to get seen, whether it's in a stronger rugby team and one that's maybe more visible, that gets television footage and so on. And from there, I think you can develop a bit of a resume and also footage and be able to get recognized for your talents. Because I know there's a lot of talent there, like New Zealand, that doesn't get seen. And those are sometimes the better players. So I think it's about backing yourself, being confident in your talents, and looking to be exposed in some way, looking to get some exposure to be seen from some eyes that can lead you to some good opportunities.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. And I love the fact that you mentioned the word goal, yeah? So we come in about if it's okay if I just switch a little bit into Fijian, very briefly, look. We come in about sat kun go look, kereli chuko sono nomuni so sao. We come in a bit of katamuni lakingito, berto na matitimi may asawa, may mbua, may matuwata, we come in sa waitabi na buturara, ninggito na punua tournament. Ko sa rosarngan indo na ngoni sala munibita na nomuniti ituba-tuba. So you just reminded me when you mentioned about choosing a stronger rugby player. I remember interviewing one of the rugby players, as we all know, Tuibuaka, a very strong player from Namosi province, and he was playing, if I remember in our interview, he was playing for the Tambandamu, which is a local Namosi province team. And then he switched to the prison team. And that was where they saw him more. So that is a really good example, right? So of course, you know, he would have stayed with his own rugby team, but switching made some of the selectors. They noticed him. Would that be a good example of what you've just shared there?
Yeah, great example. Obviously, loyalty is important, but I think having those transparent and open conversations with your coach as to why you're changing teams is important also. I just let them know, you know, you want to go up the grades and feel you'll be seen more in this team, hence making the move. So just having that transparency and those open conversations with your mentors and your coaches will help the process a lot more, I think.
Wow, that is amazing. You're just making me think of some of our Fijian players that were in Japan. Even some went back to 20 years ago, even more than that. You know, there was some, if I remember, there was Paulo Nawalu, Koli Sewambu, There's just a few rugby players I could think of. Are there other Fijian players you are familiar with that were in Japan?
Yeah. I think probably some of the boys look up to in Fiji would be obviously Samu Karevi. He's got a family member, Josh Karevi there, who's doing really well. Obviously, Maika Koroibeti is a very prominent name on the wing for Panasonic there. And through there's almost a couple on each team these days, so it's really good to see.
Wow, that is wonderful. Now, for those who kind of like make the cut, if I can use that phrase, when there are universities that are out there, do the universities select the ones that they would like to join?
That's correct. Yep. So the university, normally the head coach will look over the videos, which is what he's doing at the moment. It's a bit of a process. So he's looking over footage at the moment. Then he'll come back to me in a week or two and say, Luke, we want to have a Skype or a Zoom call with these players. And in that case, I'll get a hold of their parents and have their parents involved in the conversation too, so that they know what's going on and they're very clear of what's happening. After the Zoom call, normally about 3 days later, the coach will call back and say, yes, we want him, or they might say, no, unfortunately, didn't interview too well, we don't want him. So it can be quite cutthroat. But that's the process of how things happen with Japan and universities in particular.
Wow, that's really, really awesome. And I think you've made a good point there, that even if they have a Zoom meeting with parents, they have to be aware that rejection is part of the process, right?
Yeah.
They should not take it personally. What would be your advice in that regard, Luke?
If you miss out, just dust it off and try again. Because there's more than one university in Japan. You just got to just keep trying and keep adding to that CV, stay in contact, and I think we'll get over the line if the players are good enough. So just not quitting, realizing that there's more than one team in the world, and there'll be other opportunities that come up if you keep working hard and stay resilient to the goals.
Wow. Those are some really, really beautiful gems you've just dropped there. I love what you said, never quit. And the topic of resilience, right? Because in life, right, in general, you will face trials and tribulation, but it's how you go through those trials, right? How you go through those tribulations that will make you you have to go through the firing process. I think we all went through. What was your firing process like, Luke? If you don't mind sharing maybe just one example.
Shucks, I guess in this current line of work, as I like to call it more of a connector and player welfare protector over the word agent. In this line of work, there are a lot of tough times, I must say. No, challenging times. You may send a player to Japan and he has some troubles. He might not live up to the expectations that were placed there, and so just dealing with coaches that are worried about those sort of things, and I guess also another couple of troubles. There hasn't been too many, but I will talk about one situation. I sent a player to Japan. He seemed like a really good player and had a little bit of an incident off the field, a little bit of fighting. So just getting through that issue with him was a bit tough, but I think just with good conversations with their coaches, we were able to find a bit of a solution for that player. So those are a couple of tough things I've dealt with in this line of work. But for the most part, it's absolutely rewarding, and I'd highly recommend it.
Vinaka, vakalevu. Look, you mentioned that there are support mechanisms. You mentioned it when it comes to the language component. So for those who wanting to learn Japanese, they can learn before they go there, but also when they're there, there will be language support system for them.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of language support there. What I like to do is also set up my players with little networks of people with them as well, whether it be some of my Māori players, link them up with the Māori dance group there, whether it be some Fijian players, link them up with some of the elder Fijian players there. So that's important for me, making sure they're feel at home, and they have those elders that they can speak to when they can't speak to people within their university, when they need to have those conversations. So setting them up with networks is important. And in terms of the language stuff, they have a lot of the Japanese players in their teams will be set up to specifically help them with their Japanese skills.
That is wonderful. I'm glad you mentioned that a lot of our players have similar, we all have similar cultures with the Japanese culture. So that's already a plus, for some of our young ones, right? Yeah. So, I mean, learning another language, I know it's difficult, but they should look at it as an opportunity, yeah?
Definitely. It really helps too. Like once they pick up the language, obviously, they can connect with their friends on a deeper level. If I'm just saying to you konnichiwa or hello, it's tough. But when you can start asking questions how they're feeling, then you get that deeper connection. So I think it's priceless and highly recommended the boys put that extra bit of work into the language aspect of it.
Wow, that is wonderful. Because you mentioned that when they're there, the coaches or the studies that they do at the university will be delivered in the Japanese language. Yeah, so it's really important that they learn it for themselves to communicate, but also those that are communicating with them, so that they can understand what is being said. Yeah, that's
right.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And a lot of the feedback is that it is quite challenging for the first few months, but eventually they break through it and they get through that barrier, and they start to see the benefits of being able to speak a bit of the language.
Wow, that is wonderful. And I think our listeners, our young ones who are watching, they may be finding it a challenge to learn another language. But, if Luke can, like you can go through that, you can. Yeah, definitely. That's a wonderful reminder about that. And I think I've got Samu Kerevi and Josh Kerevi and Koroimbete. If they can do it too, Koli Sewambu, Paulo Nawalo and a lot of other Fijian players, if they can survive in Japan, then definitely, the ones that are coming up can do so too.
They not only survive there, but they actually really thrive there, I think, in Japan. Sort of really, I love it.
Wow, yes, see, that's another word. Never quit, resilience, and opportunity to thrive. Yes. When they're there in Japan. What a beautiful, beautiful way to remind ourselves that sometimes says this opportunity may come only once, so grab it. When the opportunity comes your way. So wow, that is really, really awesome. And I love the fact that you also mentioned your role as a kind of like a welfare person to look out for them. As you mentioned, some of those incidents that happen, but there's always communication to help them get back on track, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good point you mentioned about you might only get one opportunity. Your rugby window's not as big as people think. They think they can play rugby forever, and then hey, one injury and things change really quickly for them. So I think it's really important to. And what a lot of people, your listeners have done, it really took on the opportunity and they've got in contact and they've taken the opportunity, which is really, really cool, I think.
Wow. I also, I mentioned one of the players that was in Japan at some point, Koli Sewambu. He's now working for the Moana Pacifica team now. Yeah, Koli, his family's now moved to Sydney. That's where they based because the office is there. And one thing, he was also one of my guests on the show. One thing I learned from him that many of our audience members learned was he was playing rugby, but he was also doing his studies.
Yes.
And then when he was in Aotearoa, he was based in Palmerston North. He started up his business, I think it's called Wunilangi, if I remember. And then he was also doing what is it called? Like financial literacy. Particularly for our players. I've been following the work he's been doing. Plus, also there were some documentaries that were done a couple of years ago. In terms of our rugby players. When they get huge contracts. Just helping them saving their money and making sure that they saving a lot after their contract finishes. So if they want to go back home, any advice that you would like to give as well when it comes to financial literacy and just being able to save when they're there in Japan?
I think it's important to have somebody to help you with that side of things. I think a lot of our Kiwi players in particular, I'm not too sure with Fijian players, they like to give a lot of their stuff away. They give it to their family, which is nice. A lot of them are giving maybe too much away sometimes. So having someone in your corner you can talk to, might be a professional if you earn enough, or it might just be a solid a friend that you trust, just to help you work through some of those money issues, because some of these players, not so much at university, once they get onto the professional world, they're earning a bit more money than they can actually deal with sometimes. So having someone you trust that you can talk to about it, or employing someone that can, an accountant or someone that can help you, I think would be a really wise idea in order to save your money. Once again, going back to that rugby window, that's not as big as people think, eh? So once that window closes and the money stops coming in, that's where problems happen if you haven't saved. So
right. That's really some good advice you've given there, eh? Getting an accountant or someone to look at, or even just having a budget advisor to work with you from the beginning. Yeah,
that's right.
Really important. Like as you said, that window, window in whatever can happen, injury or things that might happen, then that tap, if I can use that analogy, with the flow of the vai or the y, the water coming in, and when it stops, and then if you don't have the savings, that's where the problem comes. Yeah, look.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm glad we talk about that topic, because there's some young ones listening in tonight, and there are also some parents to start thinking about it now. If they're thinking of applying in 2023, 2024, then start doing the preparation, but also not forgetting the budget side of things, particularly preparing financially before you go to Japan, but also saving your money while you're there in Japan too.
That's right.
Wow. Yes, man, look, it's been so wonderful just talking to you. It's like, when the Zoom was turned on, it's like when I heard your voice and see you in person, it seems like I've known you all these years. You're very, just your personality comes through really well. And I'm sure this work you're doing matches you as well, because, I think having the ability to have that empathy, I think, for our players, it's really important. Yeah, from the beginning, guiding them along the way, and when they're in Japan, continuing that as well. So before we conclude our Talanoa tonight, I'll pass it back to you. Is there a particular other topic you had in mind that you haven't shared?
Not so much. I think we covered quite a bit. I just encourage people to keep getting their CVs and footage in, and give yourself the best chance to get this opportunity. So definitely encourage people to keep trying and keep getting the information in.
Right, very good. So as you said, quality footage. So quality footage. So that's really important. And I'm sure in Fiji, if they say quality footage, they would have to either have some that were recorded through some of the TV companies that were doing the recording. Would that be a good example?
Yeah, that's normally been the best stuff has come through, whether it's been on television or something. A lot of the ones I'm getting are sort of a lot of them on phones, so it's a bit patchy and sometimes a bit tough to actually see who the actual individual is that we're supposed to be watching. So but if possible, some stuff from professionally recorded games would be really appreciated.
Wow. Okay, so that's a quality, and then the second one is your CV. Just to make sure that it's clear with all the information that is needed, and especially either the academic achievements that they've reached in high school, if they are within the ages of 19, 20, just leaving high school, plus also the resume of some of maybe the clubs or schools that they've represented.
Yeah, that'll be great. And some of the boys that I've shown interest in, I normally ask them for a couple of fitness numbers or achievements that they've done. And one is the bench press, one is a squat, a deadlift, and a bronco, which is the normal rugby fitness test. So those 4 things are very important for the Japanese coaches to see as well. So if you can put those on your CV, that'll be a great help. Otherwise, I'm asking the boys to send it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Would you like to say them one more time?
Sure.
The fitness test. So
yeah. So one is the bench press, one is the squat, one is the deadlift, and the other one is a running test called the bronco. These are the 4 tests that the Japanese coaches would love to see.
Wow, that is so good to know. See, I'm sure I will share this on my YouTube channel as well. So I will share the link with you to look, and also I will share it on my social media pages so that the others can be able to get through some of the details that you have shared. Now, for those who wanted to contact you, what's the best way to get hold of you?
So email will be the best way to get a hold of me. I think it's on the post that you posted up or reshared, and that's luke@lrb-sports.com. Say it once more, luke@lrb-sports.com.
Beautiful. Okay, that's really good. And do you have a website or email? Is just here. Website.
I'm only the best way to get hold of me is through our Facebook page where you shared the post from. I'm normally pretty responsive on there and get back to the people quite quickly. Otherwise, we have a website. It's www.lrb-sports.com.
Oh, okay. So okay, that's awesome. Wow. See, that's a lot of information there for you parents who are listening in. Yeah, and those who are watching and those who will be watching the replay. Those are some of the contacts that are there. Look at lrb-sports.com.
Yep,
yeah, so look at lrb-sports.com. So hyphen is like a dash in the middle dash, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yes, okay, middle dash. And then he's also on Facebook. So Facebook is the LRB Sports.
Just LRB Sports. Same as Instagram also. We're on there as well. So.
Oh, okay. See? Instagram. All right. So no, I'm just so glad, Luke, that you've taken the time. I know you're going through your tangi back in Aotearoa. But on behalf of our families and our audience here in Fiji and around the world, we just want to say Vinaka vakalevu to you, Luke, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be able to share your knowledge with us. I'm just so grateful. And I'm speaking on that. I've been getting lots of messages already. A lot of people giving their thumbs up and lots of love, lots of heart emojis coming through. So we all love you, Luke.
Awesome. Hope I can come back on one day and talk about a couple of boys that we've placed over there in Japan. So that'll be awesome.
Oh, Vinaka vakalevu. So any last word? Any last goodbye to those who are listening?
Yeah, really grateful, Dr. T, for making time to speak to me and obviously to hear about these scholarships. I think it's an awesome opportunity and a great pathway for our youth. So yeah, really grateful for the time, and it's been lovely to meet you and connect with the people over there. So thank you very much.
Yes, Vinaka vakalevu, Luke. And if I can say that this is not the first and the last opportunity that we can chat on my Talanoa program. In the future, if there's any particular topic that you would like to share, please feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to make time for you, Luke. If there's a particular, sort of reminder or anything that is coming up that you want to share, particularly for our Fijian audience, just email me and I'll be happy to book you in.
Sure, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes, Vinaka vakalevu, and enjoy your time in Aotearoa.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Okay, Vinaka, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, Vinaka vakalevu. Wow, what a wonderful opportunity for us to talk to Luke Bradley. Luke is from Aotearoa, New Zealand. He's from the East Coast in Gisborne. He did his studies at the University of Waikato, It was just so lovely talking to him. I think that's something we have in common. I didn't mention to Luke that I also studied at the University of Waikato in Hamilton. So that's something that we have in common. Yeah, just lovely to hear his story and to hear his experience of sharing with all of us. We came ni navarong tikumai ni takan ni maratakan na nero Talanoa batake look au nungai wasechi kuna nero video and nungu YouTube channel au nungai tabule mo nungai wasetal ngaya ni bira navarong tikumai and abuk ni bekai waseti kumoko he veva kasat kun tikumai look lebu sardo wakoten bikwa na tukutuku engan rebi me bakana video ye sor baka ngatak chunga na telefoni bila katoko me na kana basbe ka bakandavu na quality me quality footage ken balbale na footage beka ni bakana Fiji TV se FBC TV se na program ni television erto da kabra katkatuni belate ni nangoner na saraba kinorto na coach me Japan erto na klub na sarchek na sa di chungo puasa sa ngo kasar ngo but sa ngon ni lak na video ele siang so chumbe ka ni matata se odimbe ka gitu chiko ko madal tak chumoka mataya quality footage kena karua na CV na curriculum vitae se na resume bina katalanga ko me tuvani bakamatata me tuvani bakamatata membien bakamatata na ramu no mu embakini sudu na kornibuli bulikina kena lesoni o torme kornibuli kena bitoringo sa pastak mai sangge ngole mai bena tambalan ni RAKAVI. Ono to boleh talanga mena ga indon na nanto program ni ndana bule ona takaba na kana bolai na CV. Do le ngona bunga bikenda na itumu tanga e bakando tukuni mai. Me bolai na CV, se na resume. E bakando changa na CV. E o matanga matin ko no bitarong tu na tarea. Ndaga siang tu dikila se nakabakadaba. Ningai to boleh menunggu ricu kami nunggu program nunggu imbitain tu nunggu posta ke karon kita kan tu nak buli menentang batan itu tumbuh melorai boleh bakadaban CV menanggai biu batan menanggai bakoyan belok sa ko sar ngaya bikem ni naborong ti kumai o babini Vinaka ni bikem ni kersar nak bale tokas senronro bulan nako manako vakalevu na sema chikmai Perth mai Australia salote moso do bulan Vinaka nakapakalevu na barong umay nanti datang bani takau nakapakalevu Dr. Suli bunin bola kena nana mata bubale may Christchurch miau sambula sia nakapalevu sar na sema mai and di bonondo sema chukumikina and sino binakanikua lelevu sar sema mengo alferti bulibo nakapalevu turangan ita na sema mai Rai ke muni turangan ita muni sango le matanga muni lagi coach so na bibisi bito chung beka na yang paki turangan ita lang gitu iya binakabali mo na bito ko nye ndaro ni bibu ke bera na bungonda bera na lubenda so beka na leo ni bubali ar chung bera tali ni gitu ngo sara nga menda sana Talanoa kin menda Talanoa ena nonrangan rebi se buke na lubenda ena talendi ni kita RAKAVI au sabak malen wikem ni to doksa binak bakalev sara na sema tikumai ena nonda Talanoa na singo binakani kwa ena ngai suris tal mayo look ena do tal ngono mi muri mena mayo sia sori tuku membeleta na nona kambani bingarab tukina main bonua baka turanga bonua tutoka o chapani sabak malen wikem ni nak bakalev sara sema mai binak bakalev look. Thank you so much, Luke, for taking the time to come and talk to us. We really appreciate you. Nakavakalevu. Until next time, isama the mata.